OPEC and non-OPEC countries hold 2.3 billion barrels of oil in cut deal. Secretariat of the Continental Free Trade Area assures of job security on the continent as Afreximbank approves $500 million for West African Monetary Zone. Central Bank of Nigeria strategized to bring down the prices of rice and maize. Asia-Pacific markets mostly lower. Technology stocks largely slip as Nasdaq turns negative for 2021. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Well, let's begin with agriculture. Farmers are getting up to 75% guarantee to mitigate risk associated with lending to agriculture through the Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme Fund that encourages banks to lend to players in the agricultural value chain. Following the amendment of the Funds Act in 2019, President Buhari approved the increase of the share capital of the fund from 3 to 50 billion naira to enable it cope with the fast-changing economic environment.
Before now, it used to fund just production, but now the fund is funding the whole of the agricultural value chain. So the fund is bigger and ready to serve Nigerians more. So what we expect to see is to see more Nigerians, because of the awareness being created. We want to see more Nigerians access the fund, and that way there will be increased production of food, there will be increased employment, there will be food security.
The amended act introduced new strategies aimed at repackaging and repositioning the scheme for greater effectiveness and efficiency towards repositioning Nigeria as a self-sufficient food producer, creating millions of jobs, supplying key markets across the country, and dampening the effects of exchange rate movements on local prices. The 14th OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting says OPEC and non-OPEC had withheld 2.3 billion barrels of oil by the end of January 2021, which accelerated the oil market rebalancing. The meeting especially commended Nigeria for achieving full conformity in January 2021 and compensating its entire overproduced volumes. The ministers thank Temepere Silva, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources of Nigeria, for his shuttle diplomacy as Special Envoy of the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee to Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, and South Sudan to discuss matters pertaining to conformity levels with the voluntary production and adjustments as well as compensation of overproduced volumes. The ministers agreed to the request by several countries which have not yet completed their compensation for an extension of the compensation period until end of July 2021. It urged all participants to achieve full conformity and make up for previous compensation shortfalls. to reach the objective of the market rebalancing and avoid undue delay in the process. The meeting applauded the ongoing positive contributions of the Declaration of Cooperation in supporting a rebalancing of the global oil markets in line with the historic decisions taken at the 10th extraordinary OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting in 2020 to adjust downwards overall crude oil production and subsequent decisions. And indeed, the decision of that meeting sent oil prices high across the globe yesterday. Let's see how the commodity market is faring this Friday. Now, in this episode, we shall be looking at the 14th OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting, its decision, Nigeria, and the global economy. Joining me is Balazaka, a public commentator from Lagos. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you.
Okay. We saw oil prices rise after the outcome of the meeting was made public yesterday. Was it expected?
Non-OPEC member countries who are not part of OPEC member countries probably were not expecting that. But for OPEC and non-OPEC member nations that came together through that declaration of understanding, they knew that they were going to maintain the production. Remember, this production maintenance or cut has been maintained from April 2020 to January 2021. And because they still maintain that and they refuse to increase production, it was very clear that prices were going to go up. But a lot of people didn't expect that prices were going to go up. A lot of people didn't expect that they will still maintain the cut. So, a lot of people didn't expect it, but it was good that they maintained it. But one important thing that we need to take from the meeting is that effective now, OPEC member nations, technically led by Saudi Arabia, have reached an understanding, with non-OPEC countries, technically led by Russia, and they've been able to come together. That rivalry is no longer there between them. That cooperation is really, really helping them. The declaration of cooperation is helping them, and they can have influence on the global oil market.
Okay. In such high-level discussions, how strong is the voice of Nigeria as a stakeholder?
Well, Nigeria is highly respected. You can see, Nigeria was singled out and was particularly appreciated. The name of our Minister of State for Petroleum, His Excellency Time Priye Silva, was mentioned. He was appreciated because Nigeria conformed with everything that she needed to do about production. And that was why the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee particularly delegated him or chose him or selected him as the envoy to 4 African countries, principally Equatorial Guinea, Congo, then you have South Sudan, So when you look at that, that was an indication that we are highly respected. And besides that, don't forget that the Secretary General also is a Nigerian. So to a very good extent, the role of Nigeria is a very good one. Nigeria's voice is being listened to, and that is very good for Nigeria.
Now, let's look at the implication. With the rising oil prices, what are the implications for Nigeria?
Yes, this is where also we have to be realistic to ourselves. Like we said, In terms of international activities, Nigeria is doing well. Just like how you saw even on World Trade Organization platform, Nigeria is leading. At the United Nations, we have a great Nigerian, Amina, they are leading. So in OPEC also, we have Nigeria leading, and that was why, like we said, our Minister of State was asked to go and persuade and guide countries like Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Congo, and South Sudan to also comply. But internally, I think to some extent we are not really doing fine, because internally has to do with how we manage ourselves. Because when you look at it in terms of production, we have so much condensate. So if we manage our condensate very well, we will make good revenues. Internally, when you look at it, because our refineries are not really doing well, to that extent, we can say on the downstream side, Nigeria is probably not doing too well. But on the upstream and on the international pedestal or platform, Nigeria is performing excellently well.
Okay. How can we relate this with the availability and cost of fuel and gas in the country, especially with the deregulation?
Well, if you look at it from that angle also, the reason why Nigeria is not doing effectively well internally and with the concept of deregulation is because of other macro and microeconomic factors. Then, the way and manner our monetary and fiscal policies are, because they relate and they have a role to in the strength of our currency called the naira. And as long as we continue to import, when we export crude oil, which is upstream, we will always do well. But on the downstream side, because we are importing refined petroleum products and we are importing them from refineries offshore, when the price of crude oil goes up and they buy at a higher rate, because we import and we have a weak currency due to either devaluation or depreciation, to that extent, we are not going to find it easy in terms of local prices of petroleum products.
How will oil cuts shape the local and global economy in the coming months?
Well, the oil cut definitely will make the price of crude oil to keep rising. But we all know that OPEC and non-OPEC member countries will team up together so that the price of crude oil will not get so high to the point where it will be attractive for shale oil producers. Because when you have shale oil producers coming in, their intention will be to glut the market and to make sure the price of crude oil falls. But as long as OPEC uniting, keep cooperating, and they are able to balance the production, I think they will still keep the price of crude oil at an appreciable level for their members.
Okay, now how long do you see them holding cuts?
Well, so far, Saudi Arabia has accepted to continue to keep away about 1 million barrels of crude oil production per day. She decided that she will do that in February, in March, and we were made to understand that she plans to extend it till probably April. As long as they continue to feel comfortable, they will maintain it like that. But once they see a threat, then to a reasonable extent, they may cut down low. But as long as there is no threat, when they start experiencing hostilities in the market, they may increase production. Because it is also not their intention that the price will get so high to the point where non-members and non-cooperative members like shale oil producers or heavy oil producers will want to flood the market and glut it and bring down the prices.
Okay, can you give us your focus before you go?
Well, the focus is this. First of all, before the forecast is, what is happening now is very good for Nigeria in terms of revenue for crude oil. Because when you look at the benchmark that we had for our budget, it was about $40 per barrel. So what we are going to see now is positive, you know. So we are going to see a surplus, which will help us try and equilibrate and reduce our budget deficit. That will be fantastic. And what is happening now is that the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee has decided that she will always be meeting on monthly basis with the OPEC and non-OPEC member countries. She will meet with OPEC member nations on the 31st of March, and she will meet with the non-OPEC member nations on the 1st of April. As long as they continue the monthly review, they will be in control and in check of all the activities. And I don't think they will experience any surprises or backlashes from those who will want to puncture their unity.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Balazaka, public analyst from Lagos. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on, the decline in the Nigerian stock market continued Friday despite increase in activities. At the end of the day's session, the all share index shed 0.08% to settle at 39,331.61 points. Market capitalization, on the other hand, stood at 20.5 trillion naira. 587 million shares exchanged hands in 4,897 deals valued at 13.6 billion naira. Mansard Insurance, Zenith Bank and FBN Holdings were the most active stocks. Now, European markets fall as Fed comments reignite global stock jitters. Let's join Ineka Oko for global market updates.
African markets retreated Friday except for Namibia overall index, which traded in positive territory, while Ghana GSE composite closed flat. Nairobi oil share led the market decline, dropping 0.39%, followed by South Africa JSE Africa Top 40, which depreciated 0.04%, while Tunisia Tunidex slipped 0.03%. Shares in Asia were mostly lower Friday as investors watched bond yields as well as technology stocks in the region. The Shanghai Composite declined fractionally to 3,501.99. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index closed 0.47% lower at 29,098.29, while the Nikkei 225 slipped 0.23%. European markets also retreated as another surge in bond yields continues to upset global stocks. CAC 40 of France shed 0.81%, with London FTSE and Germany DAX dropping 0.68%. Meanwhile, U.S. stocks were lower in early morning trading Friday, following a tech-led rout on Wall Street amid a surge in bond yields. The Nasdaq Composite dropped 2.1%, bringing its losses this week to 3.6%, while the S&P 500 and the Dow both fell more than 1%. Neka Uku, Business Express.
Thank you, Neka. Finally, let's see how the Naira is faring against other currencies. Director of Development Finance of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Philip Yusuf Hila, says the Apex Bank is working out modalities to bring down the prices of rice and maize. Hila, who spoke on the sidelines of the ASGSF, said the drive is also targeted at improving the quality and quantity of the commodities.
We want people to be able to repay so that others can benefit. Same thing with the Anchor Borrower program. We're promoting that, look, we no longer will take cash from you. We will take every single commodity that you produce, we'll guarantee the price, and then we'll connect that with mailers, we'll give loans to the processors to be able to offtake what you have. So that will encourage more farmers to come into the program, which has really been a big problem. So you have cycles like for maize, you go into maize, the next day the prices drop, the farmers refuse to farm. Guaranteeing that minimum support price will ensure that consistently we increase output and then we achieve national food security.
Still on agri-finance, the central bank also this week reduced the interest rates on high intervention facilities from 9% to 5% per annum for 1 year, effective March 2021, 1st March 2021. It is part of measures to mitigate the negative impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the Nigerian economy. Credit facilities availed through participating banks and official financial institutions were also granted a 1-year moratorium on all principal payments with effect from March 1st, 2021. That management of the African Continental Free Trade Area is assuring that it is working to see that the continental market does not serve as avenue for dumping of goods produced outside, but to protect jobs in the domestic market.
We don't want a shirt to be imported into the market. You put a button on it and you say made in the AFCFTA. We want to have a rules of origin regime that fosters industrialization on the African continent. This is how we will develop our continent. This is how we will industrialize our continent. And so we have to work very closely with customs authorities to enforce the rules of origin, to prevent transshipment of goods, to prevent goods coming in with fraudulent invoice from other parts of the world. We have to be very, very robust and vigilant about implementation of our rules of origin.
Wamkele Mene added that goods produced from special economic zones are also being considered. With that, we come to the end of Business Express for this week. Remember to keep in touch with us. Do send in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now, and the hashtag is BizExp. Business Express returns Monday at 3 p.m. Be safe out there.